Hello, everybody. My cats died. Back with the first podcast for campaign 43. With me today, I have the TC Lethaliss. Hello.
Hello, guys.
And back again for second podcast, I have 2000 AD.
Hello.
I'd like to thank both of you for spending a few minutes with us today. We're going to cover some of the pre-campaign announcements, like generals and armies. We're also going to talk to these guys and see how the admins go through the process of selecting the general for the next army. So I guess we'll, before we get into everything, I haven't got a chance to meet Lethaliss, so I'm going to have him just tell us a little bit about himself. So go ahead, Lethaliss.
Hey guys, my name is Lethaliss, as said. I've been here since campaign 22. I was general for 3 campaigns, the first 2 beta campaigns and the actual first BF3 21 CW campaign. And after that I've held a couple of other ranks, and then since campaign 41 I became a tournament admin, and since this campaign actually I became the tournament chairman. So that's about me. I've been in the military for 6 years in Holland, so I'm Dutch. I also did a tour in Bosnia 2000. I'm currently a court bailiff in Holland, which is a legal position.
Well, thank you. Yeah, it's always nice to have military personnel here. All right, well, let's get into the meat and potatoes of the all-hands meeting that we had today. We announced the generals and the names of the army. So, Tui, if you want to let us know who those are and what the armies are.
Yep. Firstly, representing the blue team, we're going to have the 3rd Airborne Assault Group, which is coming from Canada, and that's going to be General Niz. And the other army, defending their home territory, the Canadians invading the USA in a very realistic scenario, which is repeating history. And that was going to be General Kilo, representing the USA, actually playing with the USA, because his highly original army name is the United States Army.
Well, I think it'll be an interesting campaign, especially most of the players here have ties in the United States or Canada, so people have fun attacking or defending their home countries. Let's talk a little bit about how you guys sort of pick the general. So let's just sort of start with the process and where it starts off, and how do you get to the conclusion where you pick the generals. So Lethaliss, if you sort of want to lead in on that.
Yeah, of course. Well, usually we have some ideas about the upcoming generals ourselves, but the process is that we always ask the outgoing generals for their selection of possible generals for the campaign following to theirs. We then discuss all potential generals amongst ourselves, and we try to maintain as neutral as possible, and we keep things in mind as players following certain people. What we try to do is we try to keep the balance in every campaign as fair as possible. We also ask publicly who wants to step up as a future general and wants to have HO or CO positions. That's what we have done in the past also. And then we make a list of all general candidates, and we discuss them amongst ourselves. We ask if they are willing to, because when a general gives a name, that doesn't necessarily mean that this guy is up for it as well. So we all interview future general candidates, and of all the people who said yes, we have to make a choice. We try to make the best choice possible, and in the end we have to conclude 2 new generals who will pick their HO staff and fight each other for the following campaign.
So in these interviews, what kind of qualities or abilities are you looking for in the generals, or what kind of questions do you ask them in the interview?
First and foremost is, do you want to be a general? Some people, they go into the HGO spot, they experience it, and they're kind of like, this isn't for me. So although they might be put forward, when we go to ask them, the guy, oh no, the guy at the back, whoa, no, don't want to be general. I'm backing away now. Back to the private ranks for me. So that's a nice easy cut rules them out. Next one is another fairly simple thing. Do you have the time? Some people, they want to be a general, they're dead set on it. It's just a bad time because they've got, like, say, work commitments or family commitments, stuff like that. So in that case, it's a case of like, okay, maybe another campaign then. Next, we look at, basically we take into account kind of like what we've experienced them doing as a HCO. Because obviously HCO experience is a big thing. It's a big part of being a general, is being able to lead the troops on battle day. So that's based off both our own observations of how somebody's performed as a HCO, and also just general feedback we've heard from the community. Not necessarily the admins going out and asking people, oh, what do you think of player X as a BFCO, but just sitting in channels and listening.
Yeah, absolutely. The old water cooler talk.
Yeah.
You can pick up quite a bit.
And then that's mainly to help it. Obviously, each admin already has their own opinion of a player. That's also then together. Obviously, we don't want to make decisions just in a vacuum. We want to get an idea of what the community thinks. And then another big thing we consider is what plans they would have for running army. Would they change anything? What fresh ideas would they bring? We saw this last campaign with Juno. He got mixed up the organisation of the army, kind of like got rid of the set Air Force and armour companies and went, okay, let's try it where everybody can kind of like get specializations, but they're still in the line company.
Yeah, it was definitely an interesting concept. It was interesting to play in as far as how the companies and platoons were split up, and there were certain situations where it worked really well and other ones where it certainly had difficulties. But all in all, it was definitely a new approach to running an army. Moving on to the next two generals, what was it about each of them that stood out? What were their qualities that made you decide that they were going to be the best people to run each of their respective armies for the campaign 43?
Well, we've known Kilo for a while now. He was really quick on accepting the general role, but we have seen Kilo grown throughout the prior campaigns into an HO role, and his BFCOing really stood out this last campaign. From a lot of rounds that they've played and actually won, he was a BFCO. So I think he's a really skilled guy on the battlefield to lead his men. The other HCOs on his side of the army really didn't have a lot of time to put themselves in another HCO role, and we also had another guy which wasn't really experienced. So he was our first choice for a general from his side of 21CW, from his army. Yeah, I'm really confident in his abilities to run his army. If he can get himself with the right set of HCOs, then I think his army will be a success.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Kulo's been here a long time. I really like him. I think he's pretty well liked by the community, so I think he'll do a great job as general. And Tui, you want to talk a little bit about your selection of Niz?
Yep, Niz was a bit of a dark horse selection. As mentioned earlier by Lethaliss, there are three main ways in which we get names for people to potentially be generals. That is, the admins have their own ideas, the outgoing general suggests an idea, and then people also volunteer. And with Niz, the admins weren't even looking at him at the start. And that's mainly because he wasn't a HCO this last campaign, and it had also been a few campaigns since he was a HCO. I mean, we did know that he might be wanting to go back to being a HCO in the future, but it wasn't until Webker, as outgoing general, recommended him, and then he also decided to throw his hat into the ring as well. That's when he came onto the radar. So we had most of the 9AU HCO staff ahead of him initially, and we weren't even thinking about him. and then suddenly he just came out of nowhere almost, and he had plans. He already had a brilliant HCO staff lined up, and it was just like, whoa, he's clearly been thinking about this. And it is a bit unconventional to skip over existing HCOs to go with somebody who last campaign I think he was a first lieutenant. So yeah, he wasn't a
Correct.
HCO last campaign. But when we looked at the 9AU HCOs, I mean, one of them straight away was like, I don't have the time to do it, and the other two, by their own admission, were a bit inexperienced, and both said that they preferred to get another campaign under the belts as a HCO before stepping up to general. Although I should say, both of the people who were considering were saying, okay, if push comes to shove, I'll do general now. But yeah, like I said, both of them were saying we're also inexperienced and we prefer more experience. So Niz, having already had a couple of campaigns as a HCO under his belt, he's a nice, safe pair of hands, we think, to come in, be a general, and help get the other potential candidates more experience so that next campaign, because we're already thinking about next campaign and BF4, get these people more experience as HCO so they can step into being a general with a degree of comfort.
Well, excellent. I think the admins made excellent 2 chases in both of the generals, and I really hope it's going to be a great campaign. I guess. Oh, go ahead.
Just one last point about Niz. I'm not. I mean, it is quite well known within the community. I don't think everybody knows, but he is actually my brother, and I'd just like to point out that had no part in him being such as being done. Firstly, obviously, I've only been in army in one campaign, and secondly, it's annoying to me because I'm gonna have to change all my computer passwords just to make sure he isn't sneaking on my computer.
That's funny because I didn't know that when I asked you to talk about Niz, so that's kind of funny. All right, well, I guess we'll wrap it up. I had one more thing before we go. In all hands meeting today, we had a discussion about 21CW recruitment day on June 8th. So Lethaliss, if you just want to talk about that for a little bit so some people get an idea what's going on.
Yeah, sure. Like you said, we'll be having a recruiting event on June 8th, which will start at regular battle time. We will separate into 2 main groups that will be the first group will be sitting in our public channel 1, and they will populate our own 21CW battle server, our public server, and they will try and start recruit new members for us. We have a second group which will be sitting will populate random servers, and they try to recruit new members as well. So anybody who wants to help out, you're welcome. June 8th.
Yeah, and for those people that may watch this that aren't in 21CW, it's June 8th at noon Eastern. So we welcome to hop on our TeamSpeak or hop on our server, play around, see what we're all about here at 21CW. I'd like to thank Lethaliss for joining us.
You're welcome.
And 2000 AD as well.
No problem.
Alright guys, well get out there, start recruiting new members for Campaign 43. Hopefully it will be a great one. And this is Kat, signing off.